What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is your review for Ready to Love Season 6, Episode 5. Did I say that right? Lord have mercy. Yep. No. Oh, Lord, where I get 5 from? Episode 3. So, we start this episode off. We're in the ladies' lounge. It is the ladies, it's the men's elimination week, so we're in the ladies' lounge. And Tommy tells the ladies that he wants them to focus on dates this week that means something to you. Maybe quirky, maybe a little bit different, but so that the person absolutely understands who you are and some things about you. Now, I immediately thought, oh, well, this is Ace's perfect opportunity. She gonna take somebody to a yoga class because they say that's all she been talking about is yoga. And on that work, I noticed how this week her occupation went back to being a philanthropist. Now listen, she could very well be both, and that's fine. She could be a philanthropist that also likes to do a yoga instruction, and that's fine. But don't be flipping it back and forth like I ain't supposed to notice that it's different every week. Now maybe some of the other ones are different, but for whatever reason, Ace is what stands out. Anyway, but we also found out we have another curveball. We have 2 more blind dates. Now me personally, I like the whole blind date twist. I do. The only downside to that is I don't think we should wait too deep into the season to keep bringing in new people, because that was my issue last season with the whole Sydney Sean twist situation. I thought it might not have been fair to bring them in so late in the season. But I do like the little, because again, when shows like this, you have a formula. You have to do something different to switch up the formula. I think that's why people are getting, I know for me, Marriage Boot Camp has become stale because I do the same exercises every season. People who watch the show know what to expect. They know what you're doing. They know how they're supposed to act. So it's not a genuine response. So I think when you switch it up and you give people something different, you know. Now, the first blind date we had was with Takia, because I keep wanting to say Takia, so Takia must be right. It was, wrong page. It was Takia and Eric. Now we found out that Eric is former military. He's divorced. He got married at age 18. He's a PK son. He was once a civil engineer, but now he is a celebrity chef. He has 2 children that are both in their 20s. 2 girls, I believe, young ladies. They're both in their 20s. And he's ready to settle down and do some things. Now, with Takia, we find out that Takia has 2 younger children. I don't know if we knew that already. I mean, not 2 younger children. I'm sorry. She has 2 children as well. No, she doesn't have children at all. I'm getting her mixed up with somebody else. Hold on. She doesn't have any children at all. And so, of course, the conversation came up with, do you want kids? She said, listen, if it happens, that's great. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. I'm just not sure if, I like my life the way it is. I don't have to worry about no midnight feedings. I don't have to worry about making no bottles. Listen, girl, that is where I am on the situation. I 100% understand. My window of opportunity has closed. But if you had got to me before, before I turned 40, you might have had a shot. But baby, it's a wrap. This kitchen is closed, okay? And I understand where she's coming from on that one. So, as they continued to talk, they found out that he said that he had been living in New York for a while because he had an uncle who was battling cancer. And we found out that she is a cancer survivor. She had cervical cancer in her early 30s, but obviously it's in remission. And so thank God for that. So they definitely connected. He was ready to lock in. She was ready to lock in. But both of them were mindful that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And they were, going to continue the process, but they definitely had a connection. Now, our second blind date was AP Austin, and she went out on a date with Clifton. Now, I knew this date was going nowhere fast from the beginning when Clifton ain't like the fact that they had to meet at a vegan restaurant, because he was like, I don't know about this. And one of the first questions he asked her was, so you vegan? And she said she is. She's a holistic life coach. She's a former professor, though. She said she used to teach biology on the college level. So we found out that she's a widow with 2 young children, 9 and a younger age than that. And so, she's kind of in that space. And Clifton has two older children. There's a big gap in his kids. He's got like 19 and 9 or something like that. So it's like, oh, you're going to right in there. They seem to have a decent conversation, but the any romantic inclination was over when she said, "You remind me of my brother." Now, let's be clear. I have a brother, too. And any man that I date that reminds me of my brother is probably not a man that I'm going to be dating for long. Not saying that my brother won't good looking, but I just... nope. Now, I can see qualities like my brother, something like that, but I don't feel like that's how she meant it. So, that pretty much didn't go anywhere. But they both thought the other one was a nice person. Just, not really a romantic connection. Then we see a group date. We have Ace, Joy, Cornbread, Takaya, and Eric. Because she said, production wanted me to facilitate a group date so that some other people can meet Eric and, kind of get to know him. Now, the other thing we found out is that Takaya owns a dance studio. She's an engineer, but she also owns a dance studio. So I feel like they did a paint and sip, and I feel like they did it at her dance studio because I saw something in the background that said love to dance or live to dance or something like that. And I said, oh, maybe they did this at her studio space. Now, I like the way they did the paint and sip because let's be clear. I feel like at this point in our lives, all of us have been to enough paint and sips that we don't never do another paint and sip. We are good on the paint and sips. But I feel like this was something a little bit different because you had to paint something and then everybody switched and everybody added to the picture to see what you had at the end. And I thought that was cute. One, it sparked conversation because it was like, well, why are you painting this? And what are you painting? Because Cornbread was painting a cat. And we found out that Cornbread had a cat and his cat's name was Pimp. Now listen, I don't have a problem with Cornbread having a cat named Pimp. I don't even have a problem with Cornbread painting his cat because he said his cat passed away. He was 14 years old, which means he was old as hell. Okay, and Cornbread said we can't, don't be hating on the brothers with cats. Like cat, he went to biblical. I mean, not biblical. He went back to Egyptian days and talked about how the cat was worshipped. And he not telling a lie. He ain't wrong about that. But did you really have to go that far back to just get people to respect the fact that you had a cat? I'm just saying, Cornbread. Now the other thing I realized on this date is that Cornbread, I like you, bro. I do. I think you're a real cool dude. You seem like you got a nice conversation. Got a little jokey stuff. But you're not looking for a wife, bro. You are looking for a baby mama, okay? Because him and Takia had a one-on-one conversation, and they got to talking about children, and he said he wants kids. She said, well, I'm open to having children, but I want to be married. That's why I've never had kids. I've never been married. And he said, well, I don't know how I feel about the whole marriage thing, but I know I want kids. Cornbread, you want a baby mama. And that's okay. Listen, there's nothing wrong. If you find the right woman that agrees to those terms, there's nothing wrong with that. But I do not feel like you are looking for a wife. I feel like you're looking for someone to carry your children. But that's my opinion. Moving on. Joy had a conversation with Eric. They seemed cool, seemed to hit it off. But once again, just as Clifton didn't really find no love connection with AP, I don't feel like Joy found no big love connection because I think that Joy and Clifton really are vibing. What I can appreciate with Joy and Clifton is that they are still going through the process and opening themselves up to the opportunity of meeting some of these other people and not closing themselves off and saying, that's it, that's all, we good. No comments. Moving on. Then we see Sabrina and Paul go out on a one-on-one date. Now, Paul is really vibing on Sabrina. He really likes Sabrina. Sabrina is like, Paul's cool, but it's not really no big love connection here. Paul tells us a little bit more about himself. He was an entrepreneur at like the age of 10. He was a hustler, always has been a hustler. And there are some people where that is just in their blood. That is in their spirit. My little cousin, he's my little cousin, he's my older cousin. He was like that. Like he was just a hustler, entrepreneur. So that just seems like that's who Paul is. And that's cool. Paul is Paul, y'all. Paul is Paul. But Sabrina lets him know towards the end of the meal, listen, I really like you, but I'm just not really feeling a love connection here, and I don't want to drag you on or lead you on because I want you to open yourself up to maybe meeting some other people, because she said, I really hope your connection is here. It ain't with me, but I hope it's here. Okay? Now, then we have another group date. We got a bowling alley date. We have Laverne, Paul, AD, and Joy. Now, Laverne, what's up with you wanting people to grab your butt? What is that, Laverne? What is the issue with you and your bootay? I need to know. I'm not clear. I'm not understanding. But him and Joy are flirting. And Joy said, listen, me and Laverne flirt, but baby, I don't mean it. Okay? And see, I understand you, Joy, because that's who I am. I can do it all the time. I say, listen, I flirt, but I don't mean it. I flirt all day long. That does not mean that I don't mean it. Okay? Oh, Demetrius was on the bowling date, too. You know why I remember? I forgot, but Demetrius was on the date because Demetrius wasn't hardly doing nothing. And somebody made a comment about how Demetrius was a little standoffish and wasn't really like, you know, in the mix at the date. Joy and Laverne was flirting. Joy was cool. You know, I like Joy. I really, really like Joy. I like her spirit. She seemed like a really, really cool person. She walked right up to walked right up to AP, gave her a big old hug, said her energy felt good. And I felt like that's different from last season. Because remember when Sid showed up, them girls was giving her the side eye like, who this? Now, I do understand that it was so late in the season that part of them was probably like, for real though. But still, she was definitely, it was definitely supported or whatever. So, like I said, they bowled. It was cool. Her and Laverne flirted, but she ain't really feeling Laverne like that. She said, we just flirt, but it really ain't nothing deep there. It just ain't nothing deep there. Paul is giving out lessons because he said he learned how to bowl from his mama, who was a 300 bowler. In case y'all don't know, 300 is the highest you can bowl in a regular game for bowling, okay? So if you rolling about 300, that means you bowled a perfect game, okay? Listen, there are people who chase 300 their whole life. I know bowlers. I grew up around bowlers. I know bowlers. I got friends. One of my best friends' wife is the head bowling coach at a university. You know, has won NCAA championships. Okay, so I'm around bowlers. So 300 is something you chase. Okay, it's something you chase. Anyway, they look like they had a good time. So then we had a one-on-one date with Clifton and Joy. And Joy said, I've been waiting on this. I've been waiting to get him alone. I've been waiting on my one-on-one date. I have been waiting, anticipating. Unfortunately, the first thing she did was she tried to kill that man. She fed him some of her food, and her food had coconut in it, and he has an allergy to coconut. Now, he said, if it's imitation coconut, I'm good. But if it is the pure thing, Houston, we got a problem. But he said, I'm going to ride this out. Because he only took a little bit. And once he realized he thought he tastes coconut, he spit it out. But he was like, I'm going to ride this because I've been waiting on this date. And unless I feel my throat closing up, I'm just going to thug it out. Because he said first he gets real, real hot. And then, you know, he starts feeling his neck. I mean, his throat contract. You know, retract. Is it retract? I guess retract, not contract. Anyway. But I guess it was imitation coconut because he did get real hot at first, but I think that was him maybe being a little nervous about what he ate. And then they seemed like they finished up their date. He probably just got him a little Benadryl on his way home, and he was good, you know. But again, they had a really good conversation, found out that they bonded. Unfortunately, they bonded on the fact that both of them have lost their father and the grieving process and going through that emptiness. She was raised by her dad. You know, he was a single parent raising her. And, you know, that's unusual we know that in most cases, even nowadays, in most cases, the children are raised by the mom. But in her case, her father raised her. And so she's the only child. So when her dad passed, she said she felt really alone. And it was really, really hard. It was really, really hard on them. So then, but they had a good date. Then we had another group date, child. Listen, the one thing I'm gonna say on y'all are definitely giving us the dates this season. Now, I can appreciate that we are getting less of the other stuff and more of the people dating. So we get an opportunity to really see what connections are being made, what are not being made, who's vibing with who's not, and we can sort of maybe draw our own conclusion rather than y'all editing our conclusion. Y'all know what I'm saying? But we have a group date where a group of the people went and they did a tour of the monuments. So we have AP, Wiley, Demetrius, Sabrina, and Tori. Now Sabrina said that her top connections was Tori and Demetrius. And although it made her feel a little weird at first that both of them were on the same date, Demetrius made it easy for her because Demetrius sat on the back of that tour bus and paid none of them no attention. He was watching them tours and paying attention to those tours like it was going to be a quiz at the end. So the only thing I can draw my conclusion is that either A, Demetrius has sort of checked out of this process because he's probably not vibing with any of these ladies and he's not really feeling any of them. Or I feel like maybe Demetrius got himself a woman and he realized, oops, I done stepped in it. I don't know. But I feel like Demetrius is not really with us anymore. I mean, at the mixer, he seemed like he was in it to win it. He was meeting up. But I'm feeling like I said, either A, he ain't really feeling none of these women. And that's, listen, there's no shade to that. If you in a room full of 10 women and none of them are piquing your interest, listen, you can't do nothing about that. It is what it is. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Demetrius ain't really giving us nothing. Now, Wiley was doing his best. He was doing his best game and talking up AP, but AP was like, "You a little young for me. You remind me of one of my students, and that's probably not going to work for me." Ultimately, when the ladies met back at the lounge, the two names at the bottom were Wiley and Paul. The names that were at the top. I'm sorry, I said Wiley and Paul. I'm sorry. Well, Paul was in the bottom too, but Paul had Precious. Is it Precious? Precious was defending Paul. She said her and Paul, they got something. But it was Wiley, Cornbread, and Paul. But the two that they end up having a conversation with was Cornbread and Paul. I knew Wiley wasn't going nowhere when Tommy said, "Well, I like Wiley. I like that brother." I said, "Oh, well, he ain't going nowhere no time soon." That don't mean he won't eventually go, but he won't go on that night. I said, "Okay." So they took Paul out. They took Cornbread out. Joy took Cornbread. Precious took Paul. And Precious let Paul know, "Look, I was vibing for you. The lady said they wasn't feeling you, but I was vibing for you. I had your back. I was with you 20 grand, 50 grand, 2 feet, 2 toes down. Like, I was there for you. I was with it." But then Paul went off on his whole tangent about how he's doing this and he's doing that, and if the ladies ain't feeling him, it's not them, it's him. I mean, it's not him, it's them, and that they need to come to him because he's been going to them, child. Paul be talking, listen, when Paul talk, it's I don't want to say I veg out, but I feel like Paul be talking like Jedi mind tricks. And I don't always be following what the hell he talking about. Okay? I don't always be knowing what the hell Paul's saying. Okay? But he said something along those lines. Okay? Now, Cornbread, Joy let him know, "Listen, the ladies feel like you're not ready to love." Cornbread said, "Damn, I just got friend zoned by 7 women at one time. That's a new one." And that's exactly what happened. Because all of them said he was a good guy, good conversation, cute guy, but wasn't really feeling it. Anyway, that's what it is. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Talk to y'all later. Peace.